Hello, chat. I thought I was going to do this yesterday. On Saturday, I actually did do it, but the recording was, it didn't go all the way through. So, because it didn't go all the way through, I was like, oh man, well, I don't really want to re-record it. Especially when I was going to say basically all the same things. I was like, oh man, like, I gotta sit in this chair and just do it all again, say the exact same stuff. Decided also, like, didn't want to sit in my chair and do it. So, I was gonna do it yesterday, but got caught up doing more work. It is amateur season, so had to do all my scouting reports, which I finished. And right now I'm sitting at around 100 reports this year. It's a light scout workload. Most scouts are doing triple, quadruple, that kind of number. But 100 reports isn't bad when it's not your primary thing. So I'm feeling okay about 100 reports, to be honest. But decided to spend most of my day doing that yesterday, given the fact that I knew this week was going to be pretty busy, and it is busy. I've been in meetings literally all day. And I was supposed to do this at noon, but a meeting bled into noon, so you get me now. Anyway, said this before, and I don't think anyone complained. I haven't heard any complaints about the format, doing one career question and then one technical question. I think it's actually been kind of a decent format, to be honest. So, do that again today. Also, haven't heard any complaints. I did listen back to the last one I did with my new mic, which, again, using the mic again. So, hopefully that's okay. Hopefully it's been good. Hopefully people have enjoyed, have liked it. I feel like it's a good mic, or at least like better quality than what we were getting before. So, but if you have comments on any of that stuff, please let me know. Also, like, speaking of the mic, this is fine. Sorry, we're okay. Oh my god, never mind. Not that way. We're in the ballpark, as you can see. Team's on the road. They're over in Boston right now. Big game tonight, actually. So, but when the team's on the road, obviously, I am not on the road with them. I am here. Sorry, next to an AC unit. And then next to a swamp cooler now. Okay. I'm obviously here at the ballpark, but walking around, enjoying an empty park. All right, let's get to some questions. First question that we'll do is getting into baseball harder now or different, what's different between getting in now versus before? And what are the differences? So I think like the first thing I'll say is I think any job right now is hard to get. I think literally any job right now is really difficult to get. Not just in baseball, but in any field. I'd say most technical fields, it's really difficult. You're even seeing like layoffs for some larger companies and even like smaller companies. When people do have jobs, the pay right now isn't what has been reported before. People are getting paid less for work. People are the lower range of pay tends to be what's being offered right now. So not only is it difficult to find work, but it's also difficult to find work that values you at what you believe you're valued at. So I think just in general, work is difficult to find, and it's different because it's hard. I think in previous years, while it was still hard to find a job in baseball specifically, I don't necessarily think it was hard to find a job doing technical work, doing quantitative work. There's a little commotion happening here. We see there's this boat here. I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's a cop boat with its sirens on. I'm guessing this is the Coast Guard or some sort of, I'm gonna guess it's the Coast Guard, but could be Cincinnati boat police, and they have a siren on, and there's also what seems to be some sort of EMT over across the, let's see, where's the bridge? Over here somewhere? I don't know if y'all can see it. Over here? Yeah. Right here? There's an EMT truck, EMT car. So it seems like something might be happening in the water here, which is scary. But I will say the maybe silver lining is there are no cops on the bridge, which means I don't think someone fell off the bridge. I think this might be more of a something is in the water and it is floating downstream and they're trying to catch it, perhaps. I'm unsure. Anyway, neither here nor there. So, why is it harder? Well, not harder, but different. I would say the biggest difference, and this happens all the time, and this will happen infinitely for the rest of eternity. But the demands of a field change, right? I mean, a decade ago, the term data scientist wasn't even around. And one decade later, the term data scientist seemingly isn't around again. So the demands of the role that I'm in, or the role that that comes in through my department as quantitative people, I think the demands have changed, right? Once upon a time, the demands were like, if you know some statistics and you know how to query through a database, you're going to be very valuable. And that was very true and to some extent, that's still the job. But the demands have changed from stats and statistical methods to machine learning, right? And beyond machine learning, it's changed into neural nets and computer vision, and beyond that is now changing again into so-called AI and large language models. Well, as these things change, the question remains like, well, what should someone learn? What should someone study in order to get into the industry? And my personal opinion is you should still study the same stuff. You should study research methods. You should have some expertise in the domain you want to go into. I do think knowing how to code, learning how to code is important. Some may disagree, but the people who are most aided, the people who are most assisted by so-called AI are people who know how to code. So I don't think you could replace being able to prompt with or you can't replace coding with being able to prompt. I just don't think that's a valuable, that's a one-to-one skill yet. I still think knowing how to navigate a database is important. I still think being able to communicate your results is very important. But all these things are important conceptually, and they're the things that you should hire and retain as much as possible. But what's the underlying factors? Like, is it R? Is it Python? Is it someone who understands how to prompt? Is it someone who understands how to fine-tune? Is it someone who can create large language models from scratch? Is it someone who understands what an AI agent is? I think all of that is, they're all nice to have still, but I don't think any of this stuff is required yet. And I don't know if it will ever be required. I like thinking back to not too long ago, the world of neural nets, where it seemed all likely that everyone needed to know how to use TensorFlow and Keras. And then PyTorch comes out and everyone's like, oh, this makes it even easier to learn neural nets. And excuse me, chat. This makes it easier to learn neural nets, and everyone should be able to, and that's the framework everyone needs to know. And if you don't know it, well, you'll never get by just knowing XGBoost. Well, here we are, only several years since that point, and everyone just uses XGBoost still. And several people know some neural net stuff. And the use cases for neural net in most production environments is pretty limited. And when you're talking about sports, it's pretty limited. So, so from the point of view of just neural nets, if you take that as a cautionary tale, then the thought of what so-called AI or large language models can bring becomes I don't know. There's some historical context here that I think is important. And that historical context is everyone likes the new hot technology for a few moments, but is it, a one-hit wonder, or is it actually going to stand the test of time? And in my opinion, most of these things are one-hit wonders more than they can stand the test of time. And maybe that's just me being an ignorant old person, but I'm going to be an ignorant old person until I'm proven otherwise. Because honestly, the changing landscape of what people need to know as professed by influencers is very different than what people need to know as professed by people who actually do the work. And as someone who swims in both lanes, I can definitely tell y'all that being able to do the work, what the most efficient pipelines look like, what the next version of these pipelines in something that's refactored or reimagined look like, I know what these roadmaps are. I work on them. I manage them. I help execute them. None of them include whatever people think is the most newest, coolest, transformative, latest technology. Quite literally, none of them. Back when neural nets were a thing, one project I worked on needed neural net. And that was because it worked with a z-axis of time. So surprise. Flat data, but also has a time component that turns it into a 3D data set. Some may call that a tensor. That was good for TensorFlow. And so there is one model in production to this day that uses TensorFlow, that uses Keras. And I had always told people, like, hey, if you're interested in neural net stuff, if you want to show your value in terms of neural net architecture, I have a project that needs a severe update. And this year, it got an update. So someone took this this model that I had built in Keras, and they updated it. And first, they tried to update the Keras, and they were like, all right, this works in Keras. It's fast. It works daily. It's good. Then they refactored into PyTorch, and they were like, okay, it's fast. Similar performance, at times faster, depending on what it is. Better in terms of minor league play. So this model actually ends up just switching over the model type, the model architecture, ends up being a little better. And it's good. All right, now we have something that was updated into a new form of a neural net. And then this person said, well, I'll do this one more time because I think I could find a way to make it even faster. And I was like, even faster? We were already GPU processing over this neural net, made all the framework available, both in Keras and also in PyTorch, RTorch in this case. How much faster can you really make it? And a week later, I found out how. They used XGBoost, and it beat the performance of the model, and it's faster and more accurate down to the lower levels. Overall, a better model. And I was like, huh, that's crazy that you were able to make the better model using the random forest as opposed to like some of the linear gains you get from using neural net. And they're like, yeah, we were kind of confused as to why this was the better model, but given all of our knowledge about the features, what went into the model, all of the advancements around what the model, oh, you know what? If I go this way, the alarm's gonna go off. By the way, this is what looking from the outfield under the shade looks like. It would look like this. Nice. Yeah, if I walk too far, so if I start going around the batter's eye, out behind right field, that actually will trip an alarm. So I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just walk the other way. So the thought of this model, which when I tested it, the neural net version was better than the gradient boosted model version of it. Now it has gone the other way through all the different feature engineering work, all the different layers of complexity we added on top of the model. We did find out that this other entirely different statistical framework through XGBoost was actually better than the layers of Keras and the layers of PyTorch that we had. So this all relates back to the idea of like, well, what do you need to know to get in? Is it different now than it was then? And the answer is yes. Like, it is different. It's different because the technology is different. Like, people aren't asking you about neural nets anymore. People are asking you about so-called AI. People aren't asking you about how to use GPU on-prem. People are asking you about your experience with clusters and cloud environments. A lot of this stuff that used to be of the old times, like on-prem computing, that doesn't exist anymore. Now, everything's in the cloud. Everything is based around cloud architecture and different environments and clusters you could spin up. Nothing really has, like, no one's asking someone to build something from scratch in terms of a hardware and software environment. A lot of these things have specializations, like your DevOps, your SecOps. People are helping people in the data science environment, the statistics and quantitative environments, when before, the so-called data scientists would have to do all of this. So, yeah, it's different because what a quantitative analyst, quantitative person is supposed to do is supposed to be the quantitative stuff. And at one point in time, they were expected to do more than that. And now, they're expected to do the same amount of work as before, just with a little twist. So, how much do I believe that twist is going to become something more than just a flavor of the month? I guess we'll see in time, but my thought is similar to the neural net thought. Helpful at some points. Most of the time, you won't need it. And it's better to rely on methods, domain experience, more pure statistical knowledge, good coding practices, good database practices and implementations. All of that stuff, you still learn in class. You still get the most experience with when you're an intern. You still are going to be asked to review these kinds of things. Those are the things that really separate the person who was just trying to get the job versus the person who was trying to get the career. Like, so many people are so focused on, let me just get the job, and not enough people, in my opinion, are focused on what does it take to be the best in that industry. And I get why. Like, right now, it's really difficult to be getting the job. It's really difficult to be a person who's getting the job. But if you put too much effort into the hacker, what's it called? Leet code and all of that kind of stuff. Like, if you're spending so much time developing how to answer tests. Sorry, the security guys are charging their security stuff. You're putting so much effort into learning how to get the job, but not enough time learning how to be a productive member in that industry, then you're failing, you're like missing the point, right? Like, in my mind, at the end of the day, these things that you're being evaluated on should be really like the things that are analogs of your day-to-day role. And the less it feels that way, the more it feels like you're getting tested on things that are like superfluous and like negligible to what you would actually be doing, then the less likely you should probably work at those places. You know? Like, I know entry level sucks just because it's such a shit show, but I think there is a better sense of like, where can someone work, what skills are valuable, how are you evaluated on those skills. That says a lot more about the environment you're going to be in than you aced the leak code portion of the test. Now you immediately get into the whiteboarding session, and the whiteboarding session is another version of leak code. Okay, well now you go to another whiteboarding session, and that version of it is also some form of leak code. Okay, well, let's just say you get the job. What are you gonna do? Nothing related to leak code. And what do you think you were gonna do? Nothing related to the job description you applied for. So what are you doing? Who the hell knows? Do you even want to do it? Who the hell knows? So I do think that there is this kind of like lack of growth, lack of fundamentals from like a laziness aspect that a lot of hiring managers and large companies get themselves into, and it's very, very unfair to the people applying. So in my mind, the way things have changed, so many things have changed in terms of the tech and the way we evaluate candidates, but the things that I value are always the same. Like, can you do things in some rational or methodological way? How clearly can you express that? Once you have some clear concept of a plan, can you execute that plan? In your execution of it, are you able to talk more in depth about the things you use to execute your plan? Do I trust you to say the exact same things when I put you in front of someone else who has a different background in the domain, statistics, what have you? How generalizable are your skills to other projects, to other people? These are things that you're still evaluated on. But I don't necessarily think that has ever changed. I think that's always been the same, honestly. So, anyway. One more question before I have to head back in, chat. This question was about new data sources. So, are there any new data sources that that are currently private, that if they went public, they'd be a really big deal?